DP chairman affirms the new prosecutor can only be appointed by the High Council of the Prosecution once having been vetted and elected with 84 Assembly votes. A special meeting to hear the candidacy profiles of all who applied for the role of the Provisional Chief Prosecutor began at 3 p.m. today. US Ambassador Donald Lu states we must decide now if we are to use technology in the next elections, as the process must begin immediately to be successful. Good evening. It's 6 o'clock on Wednesday, the 13th of December 2017. Welcome and thank you for joining us tonight for the English edition of Aura News, bringing you the day's national top stories translated into English 6 days a week. The Chief Prosecutor is appointed by the High Council of the Prosecutor's Office after completing the vetting process and receiving 84 votes from the Assembly. This is the process for the election of the new prosecutor. This was the firm position taken by the chairman of the Democratic Party, Basha, during a conversation with journalists where the election of the new chief prosecutor was discussed. After having read the relative articles of the Constitution, Basha stated that the provisional chief prosecutor is not a position for which there are provisions in the Constitution. In the current situation of the High Council of the Prosecutor's Office having not yet been established, Basha states that the constitutional solution is to realise the establishment of the institution. Until such time, Llalla should remain in office and continue until the incoming Chief Prosecutor is elected by the newly established institution. Llalla must remain in office until the new prosecutor is elected, said Basha. If the majority continues with the procedure of electing the Chief Prosecutor against the laws of the Constitution, Basha warned that the Democratic Party will take legal and political steps in protest. Basha stressed that there will always be a negative response to the Prime Minister's requests for dialogue. If the Constitution will be violated, there will be protests. No dialogue with Rama, said Basha. For the head of the Democratic Party, the appointment of the temporary chief prosecutor serves only for Prime Minister Rama to close corruption files. In regards to comments made by ambassadors of the US and EU, Basha sees it as a call to implement the Constitution and not to violate it. Rama wants to close files, ambassadors want to implement the Constitution, said Basha. Basha described the Opdat and Euralius's opinions as a failure to appropriately interpret the Albanian constitution and on these grounds questioned the validity of such opinions from these institutions. The Socialists are determined to continue the process of electing a provisional chief prosecutor despite the fact that the Democratic Party and the Socialist Movement for Integration consider the move to be unconstitutional. At a special conference this morning, the chairman of the Law Commission, Manya, announced a meeting to conduct a hearing for candidates which commenced at 3 o'clock this afternoon. The process is constitutional. We will hold a hearing regarding the candidacies, said Manya. Despite the threats by the opposition that the entire party would boycott the Commission's meeting, Manya made a final call to them to ensure they are part of the process. The opposition must be a part of the process, said Manya. Manya praised the 7 candidacies for the role of temporary chief prosecutor and, as a lawyer, confirmed that the process is entirely legal and all citizens will learn the candidate's strategy for their time in the important post. The hearing of the Law Commission is currently in progress without the presence of the Democratic Party. As we begin to launch yet another imperative reform for the country, that of the elections, US Ambassador Donald Lu stressed the need to progress with projects to ensure goals are achieved in a timely manner. In particular, Ambassador Lu stated that should the Albanian government wish to have implemented technology for the next federal election, the decision needs to be made now and the project implementation begin immediately, or it will be a failure. If Albania decides to implement a pilot project for 2019, Parliament must identify funding, technology and the implementation mechanisms now. If it is expected by next summer, it will surely be a failure, said Donald Lu. Lu said the use of technology in the election can solve some problems, but in regards to issues such as vote buying, voter intimidation and media coverage, resolutions will only be found in the OSCE ODIHR recommendations that must be implemented. Vote buying, voter intimidation, dishonest coverage by the media, and impartial functioning of election commissioners at the central and local levels. These issues will not be resolved by electronic voting. It can solve other problems, but to solve these primary issues, the OSCE ODIHR recommendations must be implemented, said Donald Lu. Also invited to the conference organised by the OSCE ODIHR were the co-chairman of the Electoral Reform Commission, SPMP Bledi Chuchi, and DPMP Oerd Bulukbashi. The representative from the SP said that electronic voting is not a solution for increasing citizens' confidence in the election process. Electronic voting does not bring confidence to political parties, said Bledi Chuchi. Chuchi demanded that the emigrants' vote be included in this reform. Emigrants' vote is a matter of principle, said Bledi Chuchi. On the other hand, Oerd Bulukbashi counted all the electoral defects that the electronic system could solve in our country. Identity cards are a problem, electronic voting is needed, said Oerd Bulukbashi. The head of the OSCE presence in Albania, Bernd Borchardt, said that the electoral technology could be utilised for electronic counting. However, he did also warn that all should be aware of the risk that the voting process may be the victim of hacking, like has been seen in several other European countries. The capital has had a new emergency service operating room and an ambulance with the latest technology equipment added to the fleet of emergency response vehicles in support of the medical emergency system and service. On the 5th anniversary of the establishment of Emergency Response Albania, ERA, Tirana's Mayor Erion Veliaj, accompanied by the Swiss ambassador to Albania, Christoph Graf, participated in the inauguration of the new hall and auto ambulance that will serve the citizens of Tirana 24 hours, 7 days a week. Thanking everyone who contributed to the improvement of the service, the Mayor particularly appreciated the contribution of firefighters and other emergency workers, calling them the silent heroes of the capital. Respect for those who serve, a minority of society's members who leave their comfort zones to sacrifice for others. I believe we need more of this culture in our nation. Public respect for the police uniform, the work of firefighters, the white doctor's shirt, these have increased, but we are still not where we should be. We often allow individual, isolated cases to characterise a whole body of dedicated people. I remember the last episode when the National Library came on fire. I was watching people putting themselves at risk for other people. But not just that. There were even people willing to put themselves at risk to save the public's books, a sacrifice for which was unprecedented. From such examples, we can better understand that Albania is filled with silent heroes, said Erion Veliaj. For his part, Swiss Ambassador Christoph Graf expressed pleasure in cooperating on this initiative, which aims to improve the health sector by providing this service to all citizens of Tirana. I am delighted that this private foundation is providing a vital service with high Swiss standards for emergency situations in Albania. What we see here today is the highest class technology, the same one used in Swiss cities, said Christoph Graf. With the holiday season fast approaching, Mayor Erion Veliaj also had some pleasant news to deliver to his employees. This year, we will also be giving a reward to all our employees at the municipality of Tirana. This is a way of showing appreciation, especially to those in the emergency services. I know that money is not your motivator, but still, I wish to show that, for us, human sacrifice is just as appreciated, if not more appreciated, than infrastructure, said Erion Veliaj. ERA services in Tirana are offered free of charge to any citizen without distinction, supported by voluntary donations. Since 2015, the ERA has been implementing a pre-hospital project for the emergency medical service in accordance with international standards in this field. This project aims to create a model of excellence based on the best European and American practices by adapting them to the Albanian context. Citizens and businesses will be relieved that the obligation to deliver certificates to a notary to receive a service will no longer apply. The National Agency for Information and the Chamber of Notaries signed an agreement today that opens the way for notaries to assist citizens and businesses in using the e-Albania portal. Data will be verified via the e-Albania portal. Notaries will soon embrace this quality service, which will facilitate improved quality of life for both citizens and businesses, said the director of the NIA, Mirlinda Karcharnaj. While the president of the Chamber of Notaries, Mimosa Sadushi, said that the deal will avoid unnecessary bureaucracies. We aim to eliminate the time-wasting aspect for Albanian citizens and to offer a higher quality service to them, said Mimosa Sadushi. The National Agency of Information will train notaries in the coming days to ensure they have the skills to help citizens and businesses in utilising this service. That's all for our English edition this evening. My name is Alexandra. Please join me again Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. for your local news in English. On behalf of Aura News, thank you and good night.